Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into something really cool?
I am.
Awesome. Today we're tackling openness to experience. And it's not just about, trying crazy foods or loving weird art.
Right. It goes way deeper.
We're using this awesome article by Personality NFT.
It's a great one.
You'll be amazed how this personality trait can impact everything from your love life to your job.
Yeah, people misunderstand openness all the time, thinking it's just being curious.
Totally. But it's way more than that. It's like the fuel for creativity, right?
Absolutely. And a key part of strong relationships, even a sign of leadership potential.
So openness to experience, it's one of the big five personality traits, along with things like extroversion, conscientiousness, all those. These five paint a pretty good picture of someone's personality.
And openness is super interesting because it's not just one thing. It's actually made up of 6 different facets.
So it's more nuanced than just, are you open or closed?
Exactly.
You could be high in, say, the fantasy facet, meaning you have this huge imagination and love daydreaming.
Right. But maybe you're not so high in actions, meaning you prefer familiar routines over, spontaneous adventures.
That's what makes this deep dive so cool.
Right. We're going beyond those simple labels and really seeing how openness shapes our whole experience of the world.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's break down these 6 facets. First, fantasy and imagination. Think of that friend who always has an incredible story or gets lost in a good book.
Oh, yeah,
They're probably scoring high in this one.
definitely.
Then there's aesthetics. This is deeper than just liking pretty stuff. It's like a deep appreciation for beauty, art, sensory things,
Right, it's like those people who get chills from a powerful song.
or mesmerized by the way light hits a building or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of feeling deeply, there's the feelings facet. People high in this are super in touch with their emotions.
Their own and other people's too.
Yeah. Like they might cry easily during a sad movie.
Or burst with joy when something good happens, no holding back. Then we've got actions, which is all about, taking action. These are the adventurous types who crave new stuff.
The ones who are always the first to try a new restaurant or something.
Sign up for a random pottery class, book a last-minute trip.
Yep, all about that.
Then there's ideas. This fuels intellectual curiosity, a love of learning. These are the folks who devour documentaries.
And podcasts.
Of course, always wanting to learn more, explore new concepts.
For sure.
And lastly, values. This is about being open to questioning your own beliefs, and considering other perspectives.
Not being stuck in your ways.
Yeah. These folks are flexible thinkers, tolerant of things not always being black and white.
Right. Always up for a good debate as long as it's thoughtful.
So I told you it was more than just being curious. I bet you're thinking about which facet fits you best.
Right. Are you the adventurous type, the art lover, the deep feeler?
Maybe a combo.
It's fascinating how we each have our unique mix.
And that mix has a huge impact on how we solve problems, how we deal with relationships.
Even how we find fulfillment in our careers.
Speaking of problem solving, the article talks about openness and this thing called divergent thinking.
Ah, yes.
Basically, being able to come up with lots of creative solutions. Thinking outside the box, as they say.
And it's not just the number of ideas, but the quality of those ideas, too.
Oh, interesting.
People high in openness tend to think of more original, more innovative stuff. Their minds just make connections others miss.
The article even mentioned the study. People with high openness were better at this visual perception task, picking up on subtle clues everyone else missed.
Like they're seeing the world in HD, noticing little details others filter out.
It makes you wonder if that's why they seem better at handling tough situations.
Whether it's at work or a tricky personal issue.
Their ability to see the big picture, A&D, all the little details, that's got to be an advantage.
It's not just smarts, though. Openness also seems to affect our motivation.
Okay, how so?
The article says highly open people are often driven by intrinsic motivation. They're not doing things for external rewards like praise or money.
Oh, I see.
They're fueled by a genuine love of learning, just wanting to explore for the pure joy of it.
That's so interesting. Does that mean they might find more passion in their work?
It suggests that, yeah, they're not just going through the motions.
Right.
They're truly engaged, excited by the learning and growing process.
Think about it. Would you rather work on something that's just a chore?
Or something that makes you curious, pushes you to learn new things.
I know what I'd pick.
That's where openness can make a huge difference.
Finding that sweet spot where your work matches your natural curiosity.
And lets you express your unique talents and perspectives.
Now here's where it gets even more interesting. the biological basis of openness.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a mindset. Our genes actually play a big role in how open we are.
The article talks about heritability, which is how much a trait is influenced by genetics.
Okay.
And openness seems to have a stronger genetic link than other big five traits.
So our upbringing and experiences definitely shape us.
For sure.
But we're also kind of pre-wired with a certain level of openness right from the start.
It's like we're born with a blueprint, but it's not final. Our experiences can still change things throughout our lives.
So we're not stuck with whatever level of openness we were born with.
Exactly.
That's really empowering. We can actually cultivate this trait.
Through our choices, through our experiences.
That's a big takeaway. Openness isn't a destination,
It's a journey.
and that journey can lead to some amazing things. Not just like creativity, but also how we connect with other people.
how we handle all the complicated parts of relationships.
Okay, so let's talk relationships. I'm curious, how does openness affect how we interact with others?
Well, one of the biggest things is how easily people high in openness connect with people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Because they're more comfortable with different views.
Right. If you're open to new experiences, you're less likely to judge someone just because they're different.
That makes sense.
And that's key for strong relationships.
Totally. Understanding, empathy, compassion, all that stuff is important for making any relationship work.
The article even mentions a link between openness and, this is interesting, sexual satisfaction in relationships.
Whoa, really? I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, it makes you think maybe their openness to new things translates into more satisfaction in their intimate lives too.
That's fascinating. And it's not just romantic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Openness affects how we handle any kind of conflict.
Absolutely. It could be that open people are better at resolving disagreements because they're more flexible.
They're more willing to see the other side
Exactly.
instead of digging their heels in and refusing to budge.
Right. They approach disagreements with curiosity, wanting to understand the other person's point of view.
That's got to be helpful in any relationship. Partners, family, coworkers.
Even just someone you bump into on the street, being able to see things from different angles is invaluable.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about openness and our careers. This is relevant for anyone thinking about a job change or just wanting to do well in their current role.
Oh, for sure. Openness has a huge impact on what kind of work we enjoy, how we handle challenges.
How we lead other people, too.
Right. The article points out that highly open people are often drawn to creative fields.
Like writing, art, starting businesses.
Yeah. Things that let them express their unique ideas, explore new things.
Create something new and exciting.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual work either. There's this interesting combo the article mentions. High openness and high extroversion.
Double whammy.
Seems like that's a recipe for strong leadership.
Creativity and vision from the openness.
And then the outgoing, engaging nature of extroversion.
That makes sense. They'd be good at inspiring others,
Absolutely. Creating a dynamic, innovative environment.
while also being good at communicating and building relationships.
And even if you're not the boss, openness is still super valuable at work.
Especially nowadays, with things changing so fast.
Adaptability and willingness to learn new things are essential in almost every field.
So if you're someone who's always learning, seeking out new challenges,
Open to feedback?
you'll probably thrive in any job that values growth and innovation.
It's all about having that growth mindset, seeing that learning never really ends.
Now, let's zoom out to the big picture. Openness and its effect on our overall lives.
Okay, yeah.
This is where it gets really fascinating. We're not just talking about individual success anymore.
It's about well-being, happiness, living a fulfilling life.
And studies have shown a clear link between openness and positive outcomes.
High openness is linked to more life satisfaction, better emotional regulation.
Even potentially better physical health. That's wild.
It's incredible how one personality trait can have such a big impact on our well-being.
It makes you wonder if becoming more open could lead to a happier, healthier life.
If it fosters creativity, resilience, strong relationships.
Makes sense it would make for a more positive life.
And it's not just about achievements or fancy stuff.
Right.
It's that deep satisfaction you get when you're living according to your values, following your passions, always learning.
And here's something I find super inspiring. Openness doesn't have to decline as we get older.
Oh.
Research shows it can actually evolve and grow throughout our whole lives.
That's awesome. It's not like we hit a certain age and stop being open to new things.
The article mentions things like trying new things, mindfulness, connecting with diverse perspectives.
Those all sound good.
These can actually increase openness no matter how old you are.
Even small steps, like trying a new food, can make a difference over time.
It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And as that openness muscle gets stronger, you might feel more confident, more adaptable.
More resilient when things get tough.
Exactly.
So instead of thinking our personalities are set in stone,
We should realize that we have the power to change them.
it's pretty empowering. We're not just passive products of our genes. We actively participate in shaping who we are.
Love that. We've talked about all the good stuff that comes with openness.
The upsides.
But like anything, there can be a flip side, right?
Ooh, interesting. There's always a catch.
The article talks about that too, and it's worth exploring.
Totally. Got to see the whole picture. So what kind of downsides are we talking about?
Well, imagine someone who's super high in that actions facet we discussed.
Okay, always seeking out something new.
That craving for novelty, it can lead to impulsivity,
Oh,
So maybe even risky behavior if they're not careful.
too much of a good thing, right?
Exactly. You can be so open to new experiences that you don't think about the consequences.
That makes sense. What about the other facets? Any potential downsides there?
Yeah, think about someone really high in ideas.
Okay, the ones who love learning new things.
They might have trouble focusing on one thing at a time, always jumping to the next fascinating concept, but never mastering any.
Oh, like a mental buffet. Loading up your plate with all these delicious ideas, but not actually savoring any.
Perfect analogy. So, openness isn't some magical key to a perfect life.
Right, it's not that simple.
It's about finding that balance, using the strengths, but being aware of the potential weaknesses.
Makes total sense. It's like any personality trait, you have to understand how it works for you.
Exactly. And then use that self-awareness to make good choices, choices that align with your goals.
Speaking of goals, the article also talks about openness and our sense of purpose, like our meaning in life. I've always felt like being open to new things helps you find your passion.
It makes sense, right? If you're always exploring, learning, challenging your own beliefs,
You're more likely to find something that truly clicks with you.
something that lights that fire inside.
It's like casting a wider net. You're bound to catch something amazing.
The article mentions how people high in openness often have more diverse hobbies, too.
More variety in their lives.
And that can lead to a richer, more fulfilling life overall.
I can totally relate to that. I get bored easily, so I'm always trying new things, learning languages, doing different kinds of art.
Keeps things interesting.
Definitely. Prevents me from getting stuck in a rut.
And that's what's so great about openness. It's all about embracing the unknown, pushing past those limits you set for yourself.
And being open to being surprised by what you find.
Exactly. Now, we got to address something. It's like the elephant in the room when talking about openness.
Okay, what's that?
The idea that personality is fixed, that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot. But it's not really true, is it?
It's a common myth. Luckily, research shows it's not that simple. Our genes definitely give us a starting point.
Our foundation?
But it's not a life sentence. Our brains are amazing. They're constantly changing and adapting.
That's where neuroplasticity comes in. The idea that our brains can change based on our experiences.
Exactly. And that means even if you weren't born with a ton of openness, you can still cultivate it.
Grow it over time.
The article mentions some ways to do that. Trying new things, practicing mindfulness.
Connecting with people who have different views.
All great strategies. Even small things, like trying a new type of food, can make a difference.
Like we said before, it's like building a muscle.
You gotta use it to make it stronger.
The more you practice being open, the better you get at it.
And as you get better at it, you might find you're more confident, more adaptable.
Better at handling challenges.
So we shouldn't think of our personalities as set in stone.
We have the power to change and grow.
Absolutely. We're not just passive bystanders. We actively shape who we are.
Now let's go back to the biological side of openness for a second.
Okay.
We talked about genetics, but the article also mentions a connection to dopamine. That brain chemical linked to pleasure and reward.
Yes. The dopamine connection. It's a fascinating piece of the puzzle.
So dopamine is released when we experience something new and exciting.
Right. It's like our brain's way of saying, this is good. Do more of this.
So it's like a feedback loop. Highly open people are drawn to new things,
Which releases dopamine.
which makes them crave even more new things.
Exactly. It's like their brains are wired to seek out those rewarding experiences.
Makes them curious, keeps them engaged, helps them learn and grow.
And it's not just about pleasure either. It affects how we process information and make decisions.
Oh, how so?
The article mentions that high openness is linked to more activity in certain brain regions.
The ones associated with creativity and abstract thinking.
Exactly. It's amazing how brain imaging studies are showing us what's happening in our heads.
It's not just a vague idea, it's actually visible in our brains.
It makes you wonder if we can understand those brain mechanisms better.
Maybe we could find ways to boost openness in people.
That's a great question. Imagine the possibilities.
If we could help people be more open, more creative, more adaptable.
It's an exciting thought. It's like we're on the verge of unlocking something really powerful.
And that's the beauty of science, it's always pushing boundaries.
Challenging what we thought we knew and revealing how complex we really are.
So as we wrap up this part of our openness deep dive, I think the main message is this.
What's that?
This trait isn't just some quirky personality thing.
It's way bigger than that.
It's a fundamental part of being human.
affecting how we think, how we feel, how we act.
And ultimately, how we grow and change throughout our lives.
And even though we might have a certain predisposition towards openness,
It's not set in stone.
we can make choices to cultivate it, to make it a bigger part of our lives.
And that can lead to a more vibrant, more fulfilling, more meaningful life.
Beautifully said. But we're not done yet. There's one more piece of this openness puzzle we need to explore.
Oh, what's that?
It's particularly relevant in today's world where everything is so interconnected.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
We're going to delve into the fascinating link between openness to experience and our ability to navigate cultural differences and embrace diversity.
Okay, so we've covered a ton about openness, from all those different facets to how it affects our brains, our relationships, even our careers.
Yeah, we've been through a lot.
But now, I want to zoom out even more, like to a global level.
Okay, getting big picture now.
How does openness to experience help us navigate a world that's like more diverse and interconnected than ever?
This is where openness really shines. It becomes like a superpower.
Ooh, I like that.
Think about it. If you're comfortable with the new experiences, different cultures or beliefs don't feel so threatening.
Instead of being scared or put off, you see them as chances to learn and grow.
Exactly. High openness is like having a built-in cultural translator.
You approach unfamiliar things with curiosity instead of judgment.
Right.
The article doesn't get into this specifically, but I'm picturing someone high in openness traveling to a new country. They wouldn't just stay in the touristy areas.
No way.
They'd want to try the local food, talk to the locals, maybe even learn a few phrases in the language.
That's a great example. And it goes beyond travel, too. Think about today's global workforce. Being able to work with people from all different backgrounds is essential.
You can't just tolerate diversity anymore. You have to embrace it.
And openness helps you do that.
It creates a more inclusive mindset.
Imagine a team working on a project, everyone bringing their own cultural perspective to the table.
An open-minded leader wouldn't try to smooth over those differences.
They'd see them as a strength.
That's how you get real innovation, right?
Absolutely. When you step outside your own bubble and let yourself be challenged by new ways of thinking.
Now, let's be real for a second. Being open to new things doesn't mean it's always easy, right?
Of course not.
There will be times when you mess up, misunderstand something, maybe feel a little lost in an unfamiliar situation.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cultural differences can be tricky sometimes.
But with openness, you're more likely to see those moments as learning experiences.
You don't get defensive or shut down.
You're more likely to be like, okay, what can I learn from this?
It's about being humble enough to admit what you don't know, curious enough to ask questions.
And willing to change your behavior when you need to.
And that's what makes openness such a powerful tool for, like, personal growth and connecting with other cultures.
It lets you push past that initial discomfort and build real connections.
I love that. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into openness to experience, I think the big takeaway is this.
Yeah.
This trait isn't just about feeling good or getting ahead in life. It's about preparing ourselves for a world that's constantly changing, full of different people and ideas.
It's about being curious, embracing the unknown, and appreciating all the amazing things that diversity brings to our lives.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
This conversation has really got me thinking about my own level of openness, you know?
Me too. It's a good reminder to never stop learning, never stop growing, never stop exploring.
For sure.
So to everyone listening, We challenge you to embrace your inner explorer. Seek out new things, challenge what you think you know, and connect with people from all walks of life.
You never know what you might discover.
About the world and about yourself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into openness to experience.
Until next time, keep exploring.